talking with Doug Fehan, Corvette Racing Program Director. Doug, I like talking to you. I talked to you at Sebring, which is the beginning of the season.
Yep.
Now I'm at Le Mans, the end of the season. So it really gives us the unique perspective.
Right.
You've had 6 podiums so far, 2 wins, including Le Mans. Sounds like a pretty good season so far.
I think by any measure that the season would have to be deemed successful. Clearly, our cornerstone event, as you know, has always been the 24 Hours of Le Mans. For us to be able to go over there, capture it in dramatic fashion, implementing our never give up attitude for our 7th victory at Le Mans is pretty exemplary. I think anyone would be very happy to have attained that record throughout a career in racing. And I know the Corvette racing team is quite proud of that. And an additional victory in a very, very hard-fought season on this continent in the American Le Mans Series. It's been an absolute dogfight. I mean, the battle between BMW, Porsche, Ferrari, and Corvette has been epic at almost every event. So I would say our season is extremely successful.
Well, going back to Le Mans with the 74 cars out, you're down a driver. What were you telling your guys? Was there any kind of motivation, or they just know what to do and they did it?
Well, these guys are not guys that need motivation, and that's based on the level of experience that we bring to that event. So we've been through almost everything you can possibly imagine. We've been down drivers several times before. We've had cars go out before. We've had a single car left in the event before. We've been behind in the event before. So none of those circumstances were new to this team. And by the way, we've rallied back from all those to capture victories in that 7 collective categories of first-class wins there.
Right.
So these guys are experienced in knowing what to do. So nothing really needed to be said. We knew we were going to dedicate all our resources, both engineering and crew-wise. We were going to dedicate all our strategies to that one car. The guys had been in that boat. Tommy obviously was his first race with us. And there's nothing better to teach someone with than an experienced team and crew behind him. He knew that they had their full confidence in him and what he could deliver. And we worked together to bring that thing home. So it's one of those things that serves to be inspirational in and of itself. So there's no words that need to be spoken to this group. They all understand it, and they all step up and get the job done.
Well, in the second half, when you guys came back, it seems like the cars are real competitive in the practices, and then qualifying comes, the BMW is first, everybody kind of lines up behind there.
Yes.
And then when the race comes, it's been kind of a dichotomy between the 2 teams. The 4 car's been strong, the 3 car not so strong, and we keep hearing the drivers comment on grip. Is there something you can say to that?
Well, interestingly enough, and we've talked about this before, when we match drivers and we have 2 cars, we tend to look at 2 different setups because we approach things differently, and you learn twice as much. And this year is still a learning year from us. We're still writing the book. This is only the 2nd year with the car. Remember, we had that other car for almost 10 years. So we try and gather as much information as we can that A is going to make us as competitive as we can be at that given event, but is also going to serve a benefit to us as we go forward with the program. So in years to come, we'll be able to benefit from that. Depending on where we've been this year, we've had a number of different issues that we've had to address, a number of different challenges. Most recently, Laguna was grip. We had a setup on the car that worked well with our tires, but it only worked well for about 2/3 of a stint. So that final third, we would see the car drop back. We'd have to pit, put new tires on, go to the front. So we played that back and forth for that entire event.
Now, was that a setup issue, or is it kind of a tire issue, or they both?
Well, they work together. I mean, to maximize the tire, you have to have a great setup. And Laguna is a track that's notorious for having low grip surface. So when you put all those things together with the new tire, with the car, with the chassis setup, with the surface, I mean, it was what it was for us. It's the same for everybody. But if you notice, Falcon Tire had a good race there. Dunlop Tire had a good race there. Michelin had a good race there. So I mean, it's one of those things that you just continue to learn. Just because we've been around forever and have compiled the strongest racing record in the history of the ALMS doesn't mean that we aren't going to go places and learn things. And this season has been that, regardless of where we're from Sebring right on down. We've learned something at every event that we've gone to that's helped make us better, it's helped make us stronger.
Well, you guys always count the relationship with Michelin and especially Lee Willard, the engineer.
Right.
What were his comments regarding the tire wear?
Well, Lee wasn't at Laguna. We didn't have Lee there. Lee was back working on the new tire for the new C7 series Corvette that's coming out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we had Robbie with us, who has been with us many, many times before. It involves so many different things. It's temperature range. It was colder there, hotter there. I mean, it wasn't great weather. It was good weather. It moved back and forth. You're chasing that all the time. I don't think it was any one thing. I think it was a little combination of many things. So I don't think it was anything we could just pinpoint and say, this is what we need to fix. Laguna is an interesting place because you can't test there. I think there's 2 days of Alabama 365, and they're both in January when it's raining. So, you have to just gather the information the best way you know how. That was an information gathering process for us. It did not turn out as well as we would have liked for the race, but nonetheless, you have to look at the positive side and see what you did come away with that was of value.
Well, we're here at the final race of 2011, and you guys, the cars have been here since Saturday.
Yes.
How you guys feeling so far about it?
Well, the cars are good, but we know we can make them better, and that's what we set out today. This last session was very educational for us because we got to implement what we learned in the two first days of testing that we had. We have to be very careful because it was hot today. And it's not going to be hot for the race. It looks like it's going to be cooler.
67 on Saturday.
Yeah, so you got to be careful about how you set the car up. So we have to go back to look at where we've been here before in cooler weather, and temper what we're doing today and tomorrow. We'll be out this evening, which will be pretty good because it will be cooler. So we've got a lot to learn tonight. As usual, it's just going to be chasing the setup and figuring out what works best and going to that book that you're writing, that book of knowledge, and see what's in there. That book gets more complex at every race. Consequently, we're going to get better.
And so let's say we're done with this race, and then you go back, and I know last year one of the major focuses was on the aerodynamics of the car.
Yep.
You were looking for more downforce.
Yep.
How did the changes? I know you put a rear spoiler, fuchsia, a rear
diffuser
deck on the back. Yeah. Obviously that helped because of
yes.
But what are the major changes that you might be looking at, or minor changes to for 2012?
Well, probably the biggest change for 2012 is we're building a wider car. The rules have changed. They're allowing us to build a car that's essentially 2 inches wider than the car we currently have, which would bring us up into a par with what Ferrari has built. Ferrari built the original car to the 2010 rules, which was 2 inches wider. They were FIA rules, 2 inches wider than what we currently run. And we've all gotten together and allowed them to run that. And now we're going to have the opportunity to go back and do that same thing. So that will be the focus of our winter testing, is that car that'll be 2 inches wider. We'll begin that testing at the end of October. We'll go back up in the end of November. We'll be back again in January, and then we'll be racing in March.
Now, if you go 2 inches wider, are we looking at like wider fenders? Like the GT1 car was like a force model.
Right, but the new GT rules don't allow that. The fenders have to be production fenders, so the fender flares will be more pronounced.
But the frame's all the
same? The chassis has to stay the same. Obviously, there'll be some change in the length of the control arms to accommodate that 1 inch longer design on either side. But for the most part, the car will look essentially as it looks now. It'll just look maybe in some eyes just a little more muscular, a little more racy. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Now, you had told John Dagney from Speed that the funding for 2012, the racing season, hasn't been approved yet, or you were going through the process of that?
Yeah, well, each year, and it's not that's not the case. Each year we evaluate where we are, and then each year we go forward. Essentially, the program for 2012 is all wrapped up, right? But we have to look at the details. What do we do as far as building the new car? What do you do as far as testing? When you start building new things, that wasn't planned in the original budget. So you have to go back, look at what you're going to do, and make sure that you're maximizing the dollars that you have allocated to the program. And that's what we're doing right now, looking to see how much testing that we're going to be doing, what the associated expenses are with that, and then how we offset that expense.
And,
but the program in and of itself is going forward in 2012.
And my final question is, do you ever get to drive one of these cars?
Personally? No. Could I? Probably. Would I want to? No. That's a huge responsibility, and I can tell you, I've raced, so I have experience as a racer, when you gain that experience, if you haven't gained a huge amount of respect at that point in time, you probably weren't a very good racer. I have a huge amount of respect for the performance level of these cars, and I can tell you that far exceeds my capability as a driver. And so there is no sense in mixing those two things. I just don't see a positive outcome from doing that. Do I think about it? Yeah. Do I dream about it? Yeah. Would I probably really like to do it? It would be fun. But common sense prevails. You get to this point in a career, and you bank on what you've learned in the past to take you forward, and that would suggest that I keep my fanny out of the car.
All right, well, Doug, good luck on Saturday, Petit Le Mans.
Thank you.
We will talk to you soon.
We never turn that down. And I want to say a special thank you to all our fans out there. Corvette Nation has been behind us this entire year. They're behind us here. It's been our best year ever from the standpoint of fan support, and the corporation recognizes that. You know, our promotion, Motorsports on Main, that we did with Michelin last week for this event was a raving success. Our fan base is what makes it what we are, and our fan base is our customer base, and they're out there buying GM products, and that's what we need to have happen. So I want to thank them for that.
Well, thank you very much. Again, good luck.
All right, buddy. Thank you.